PJNet.TV. It is time for Beckie Lindsey, and sorry we're here a little bit late, but we are ready. The bumper's rolling, and we will switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to PJNet.TV. Sorry to keep you waiting. Tough business, guys. Tough business. Okay. Let's get right to Beckie, since we're off to a little bit of a late start. And Beckie, while you're introducing yourself, I've got to make a couple of little itty bitty changes. Okay. And go ahead. Just so take over.
All right, guys. Well, hi, everybody. I'm always excited to be back and talking with you guys. I want to talk to you guys about connection, God connection.
That's a weird subject for tonight, isn't it?
Maybe that's why we're having difficulty.
We are connected. Okay, I'm sorry, Beckie. Go ahead.
Anyway, God connections, and God be all over our internet connections and all of our technology tonight, in Jesus' name.
You got it.
All right, and I'm appreciative of you, Coach. I mean, yeah, we do go through a lot with all of this, but you managed to work it out, so we're happy. All right, so guys, I wanted to talk to you about how God connects us, and it is a pretty amazing thing. You guys, I'm sure, have had some God connections yourself. I, over the past few years, have been writing for SoCal Christian Voice and also my newspaper and my blog, and I don't know why or how, but God just decided to connect me with some very interesting people. And this week's blog, if you saw it, I was writing about Sherry Rigby, and she is an actress. Mm-hmm. And the movie Overcomer, if you guys saw that, she's also in several other movies. Read the blog, you can find out. I drew a blank. I'm a little thrown off by just trying to get ourselves situated tonight. So
it's all right.
Anyway,
we're here.
It was just great conversation with her, and she's written a book, and you can check that out if you want to know more about her. But also, God has just connected me with other folks, like the writers and producers for the movie Unplanned and some other PureFlix films. And I also have, it's not always just these like famous people, although I did get to meet Tim Brown with the Raiders. I don't know how. I mean, yeah, I do. It's God. It's really, it's a God thing. But I mean, just a background on me, I've always loved creating and making up stories, but I decided to be home with my kiddos and do some homeschooling, and did that for several years. And then, I used to make up stories for them, and they kind of were encouraging me, Mom, you probably should try to do something with this. And so this whole thing didn't start till all that long ago, where I decided to take classes and really take myself seriously, my love for fiction. But then I got into writing for the newspaper and SoCal Voice, and one thing led to another. And I would have never thought that it would be meeting all of these different folks. And the guys that you just had on the other night with the new podcast, Dave and James. There's some other guys that I've gotten to meet, but it isn't
Beckie,
just.
Can I tell you something? Just an announcement. Those two that you introduced, Dave and Dave and the other guy, James, from Exercise Your Faith. I spoke with Dave today, and they are going to be scheduled the fourth Wednesday of every month here on PJNet.TV. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool! Yay, they are the neatest guys. We're kind of praying for each other now, like regularly, which I pray for, like PJNet, and we have these things that it's on my daily prayer list. Which everybody should have, but they're a really neat group of guys and teachers. I mean, godly men that are teaching. Does our country need that or what? So I'm glad to hear that they're back on. On my end, I don't even see you, Coach. So I'm just kind of like talking. So I don't. Are we actually?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, we're good. I'll switch the view for you if it'll help you. Okay.
No, it's no big deal. There you are. Okay, I just didn't know. myself again. We
Okay.
don't need two, Becky. One is enough. One is
However you
quite
like it.
enough.
It'll work.
Anyway, back to the connections thing. It doesn't have to be that. I mean, I've had the opportunity to meet some people that are more of, I guess you could call high profile, but I'm thinking about back in December, I was putting up Christmas decorations and my husband was watching football, and there's a knock on the door. And, unexpectedly, middle of the day, I opened the door and it's this young man who I hadn't seen in years. He was a friend. Well, okay, my kids had a friend who is their cousin. Okay. So this young man, he was a troublemaker. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. We encouraged him to get himself in the military, and he did do that. He's been serving our country, but he's out. And just, he wasn't in a good place when he showed up. Okay. But the point of this story is invited him in, and both of us, Scott paused the football, and we prayed over this young man because this was one of those connections that God makes. He just showed up out of the blue, knowing that he had a place where he could go where people care about him. And I haven't seen him in years, and it's just like a cousin of one of our kids' friends. The point is, God does this in our lives. He makes these connections. And the author that I was telling you about, an actress, Sherry Rigby, I'm going to show you her book. Can you see that? Consider the Lilies. God, it's just a gorgeous cover, too. She talks about in her book a process that God taught her when she got to Hollywood, which, by the way, she ended up in Hollywood at the age of 39, which is not usually the prime time to start an acting, but that's so she started writing down the connections in her life and what she calls mapping. And that's something that I've done too. And so I felt this connection with her, and I've done that as well. And Coach, if you did it, I mean, I met you on Twitter when I was just getting started trying to do this whole writing gig thing, and you were doing PJNet, and Dell and I connected in that way too. And now look at where we are today with all of these people in the chat room. This is just what the Lord does. He connects us. So I guess I just want to encourage people to look for the opportunities, because we're supposed to be doing that anyway. Always ready to talk about our faith, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just talking about Jesus. It's just showing somebody love. It could be somebody at Starbucks, I miss Starbucks. I haven't had Starbucks in a while. I'm just going to say, because
I
our
don't
state,
miss them at all because I don't go there.
and my series was pretty much written in Starbucks. Okay. I got there.
Well, if that's the case, Becky, that's the only good thing that ever came out of Starbucks. Okay. Becky, let me give you a chance to, get you some water, relax. It's okay. Folks, bear with us. We are still struggling through some connection problems. We've kind of got a handle on it, but it takes a little while to iron out the wrinkles. Okay. But it's getting better every day. So Becky was a little late coming on. We're going to get her to relax a minute. Now here's what we're going to do. A couple of things came to mind as you were sharing all of this, Becky. First of all, does the phrase divine appointment come to mind?
Absolutely.
I hear that phrase often. So, and you say connections, people that God has intersected our lives together, and folks, a lot of times the lens we see that through is the lens that is how this person came along and helped us. Okay, and that's natural. Detour, I have the mic in front of me today because it is pouring down rain, and we have a tin roof here at the Eagle's Nest, so I have to kind of mute the mic a little bit and get the thing I'd like to reflect upon, Becky, is we need to consider that our lives are being intersected with others, and maybe we need to turn that lens around and how I can be a blessing to you instead of looking for how someone else can be a blessing to us.
Absolutely. Oh, I agree. What can we be? You're saying, so when I meet this person, how can I be a blessing to them? Because
Right.
we're blessed to be.
We
Yeah.
we tend to look at things. What's in it for me? We're selfish. We're human. It's like you say you pray for people. Okay. One of the things that I try to remind myself of is try to be the answer to somebody else's prayer today. See,
Yeah.
turn it around, because we tend to go to God saying, I need this, I need this. God, please fix this.
Yeah.
Again, that's our natural, it's Adam and Eve's fault. Okay. But I think I did a video vlog one time on what I call the short list, and I think we all have what I call the short list. It's that if you have a situation, your car, get a flat tire in the middle of the road and the spare's flat too. Who do you call? Well, we all kind of have that short list, don't we? That go-to person that you can always call no matter what time or what the circumstance. Okay, great. Good to have that short list. But turn it around. How many short lists am I on for other people? See the
Yes.
difference? Here you go.
Yeah, absolutely. That is
Just
such a great point.
it is. The other thing that came to my mind when you talk about divine appointments and how God intersects people. Okay, that is true. But what that means is, well, what it doesn't mean is I'm going to sit here and wait for God to send somebody to bring me out of this mess. Okay, while that could happen now and then, well, you could also win the lottery. You could also draw to an inside straight. There's a lot of things that do happen statistically, but the probability is very low. But I think we have to have a strategy to go out there and intersect with people. Some of them will turn into be divine appointments and a relationship may develop. Some of them may not. But I know too many people that want to writers, they want to get discovered. Well, how do you get discovered? Well, make yourself visible, for one thing.
You get out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, doing this is out of my comfort zone. You know that. We talked about it. Okay. And usually the things that God is asking you to do, they tend to be out of our comfort zone because he's going to equip us as we get into it. Do we have faith? Are we going to take that leap of faith and talk to somebody maybe we wouldn't normally talk to, or do something we wouldn't normally do? And that's how I usually know that it's God talking, because I'm like, oh man, are you serious? Go talk to that person I wouldn't normally be talking to. Or a lot of these folks that I met, I had to do something. It wasn't just sit back and wait. I had to reach out to them. In fact, we were talking about Dave and James. Well, they reached out to John Eldridge. They took a chance,
Mm-hmm.
and did. And I've done that too. I interviewed. I had to reach out to the writers and producers for the movie. Now, at the time, we weren't that big of a website, and it still is a growing website. So you need to reach out to people. But I was thinking about too, just the book signings that I'll do, like at Barnes and Noble. I love that because I like to meet people, but it's hard to get. That's not easy to do for me. It's not. That's more. But I want to be able to meet people, and I want to be able to. And it's been a blessing. The last book signing that I did, here's a divine appointment for you. So this was the last one that I did before we had all the COVID thing, and you can't do that. I'm just standing there, and it's kind of a slower day, and in walks a young lady, and I don't know, maybe her sister, and they kind of glanced over at me, and I stepped out of my comfort zone and said, hey, and talked to them. They came over. As it turns out, they were just driving around. She had missed her flight, and we're kind of near the airport there, and they just, happened to stop in there, and she looks at my books and said, I have the first one of these books. Like, you do? I mean, I'm not on the New York Times bestseller. Like, what are the odds? This is far away from me. I had to drive a ways, it's still in California, but, and then she was just, what are the odds of this? And come to find out some of the issues that she's having, the characters in my book struggle with. And it's just been, God brought her there. And had I not talked to her, because I could have just stood there and waited for people to come over and meet the author, or I talked to them, so yeah. And so she's been blessed, but I was blessed too, And God, we go through a lot of different things in this life. And, we're going through a hard season right now with being at home. But God never wastes a hurt. He never does. And he's gonna, what we've gone through, we can use to help other people. And so, what I've written in the books that I've written, I'm hoping that that will help others. And I know that people that I interview for articles, my prayer is to elevate them,
Hmm.
and their mission is, which is about God. Because I've told you before, it's about Team Jesus, and this is putting their story out there so someone else can be touched. I get to be a vehicle to do that, and what a cool thing is that, you know?
Unbelievable. God never wastes a hurt. I was reaching for a piece of paper. I got to write that down. It's a good one. And, it usually takes some initiative, some little ideas. I do this, I won't say all the time, but I do it quite regularly. Okay. Can't do it at Starbucks, it costs too much. But at the convenience store, at Circle K, okay, I'm getting my coffee. Now you have to go, you grind your own coffee there. It's got one of these cool machines. And so I'm kind of got my radar up and watching to see if somebody's getting another cup of coffee. And I'll look, see what size they're getting and all that. And so I'll tell the cashier, I go to the same place every day, every morning, and I'll say, that gentleman or that lady back there that's getting coffee, I'll just take care of it. Just ring it up with mine. Yeah. So what did that cost you? $1? It's the most fun you can have for $1. Now, I'll be honest with you. In many cases, nothing happens. I won't pretend that this is just some miraculous thing. But in
Yeah.
some cases, they will chase you down in the parking lot. Why'd you do that, man? Appreciate that. There's your chance. There's that. Now, I'm not saying that every time I get to say, "Oh, I just love Jesus, don't you?" And I'm
Yeah.
lost and I need to be saved. No, come on, folks. But get in position. Okay, get in position. And there was another thought that came to my mind as you were discussing divine appointments and things of that sort. But I honestly can't remember what it was. So there are two things about getting old, and one of them is that your memory begins to fail you. And the other one
Uh-oh.
was okay.
Oh,
In any event,
I like there. Did you purposely do that or should I, whatever?
well, no, I say that sometimes, and people will say, "And what's the other thing?" And I'll say
Oh,
something like, "Did I say there was more than one?" It's good. Folks, let me, in the closing minutes here, do something that Becky would never do for herself. Okay. Becky is on what I would call the core team of PJNet, and her role is to, well, just in candid terms, recruit guests. Okay. Now, that's a little, it's not quite that bad. But many of the guests that we have here, whether they be one time or whether they be regular, Becky has two roles. One is to pray for PJNet, and two is to reach out to people and find. Because I assure you that people just don't wake up one day and appear right there. It doesn't happen that way. Somebody has to reach out. And Becky, I want to say thank you for the work that you do. It's all part of the team. And if I had, I do some of it. And the other one that I wanted to mention is Barbara, because
yeah.
Barbara handles all of our scheduling, and there's a reason for that. Basically, we just turn it over to her, and she arranges it. Because it seems like every time that I have tried to schedule somebody, Barbara calls me and said, "We've already got somebody that time."
That's what I do. I will communicate with Barbara, and it's another whole thing that is connecting. I meet somebody, and I think, ooh, that their story needs to be out there. They need to do this. I loved getting to connect people, and God has just put me in a position to do that. And it's not really. I mean, I get blessed by it, but it really isn't about me. It really is about, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
they've got a story that needs to be heard. And that's the coolest thing, to be able to play that role where maybe their story wouldn't get to be out there. Real briefly, I got to hear about this little gal that um, she has no one else in the world has her illness. And um, basically, her prayer request went viral. But I got to meet her personally, meet her family. Their story needed to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
because it's amazing. Little girl's faith is amazing, and I get to be a part of that. And so many people now are touched by her life, all the way up to the president. Getting to see a little girl's faith in Jesus Christ, because that's who she talks about. So is that cool? Yeah.
That is very cool.
And I get very blessed. And so this is another part of it, is being part of Janet, where I connect more people, and I'm seeing more and more people in the chat room, and it's great. And I know friends that we're going to watch tonight, that maybe they're not in the chat room, but I know they're watching. Hi guys.
Or so, or going to watch a replay. So, all right. Well, Beckie, you probably have noticed we have a guest in the green room. Have you? You may not can see it, but Michelle is here with her camera working, ready to go, and we'll be having her on the air in just a few minutes. Beckie, thank you so much for sharing. Sorry we had some startup troubles. Those are over now. We got through it, and we won't have those again. And we're just happy to have you part of it, and we appreciate all that you do, Beckie. I know that you're one of those behind-the-scene players that is so critical to the ultimate outcome. And just to God be the glory. Thanks so much for sharing with us tonight.
Thank you too. I'll get on and say hi to everybody and watch Michelle while I make dinner.
There you go. See. All right. That was Beckie Lindsey, and we do have Michelle Medlock Adams connected to our green room right now, and she is standing by. And I've got to quickly reassemble all the little broken pieces here, and we'll be back in just a few minutes as pjnet.tv continues. Before I leave, I will ask you to ask yourself 2 questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Second, when was that? My challenge, and the challenge I hope you'll accept, is to never be satisfied with either answer.